I should have noticed the envelope when Emma placed it next to my water glass. It was too deliberate, too carefully positioned. Cream-colored linen paper, my name written in Mom's perfect calligraphy across the front. Not Sarah or Sweetheart like the birthday cards she used to send before I stopped coming home every weekend. Just my full legal name, Sarah Catherine Morrison, like a summons. Thanksgiving dinner had been Dad's idea. "Family traditions matter, Sarah," he'd said over the phone 3 weeks ago, his voice carrying that particular tone that meant this wasn't a request. "Your mother's been cooking for days. Emma's bringing Michael. It would mean a lot if you made the effort." The effort. As if the 2-hour drive from Seattle to Bellevue was the hard part. I'd almost said no. I had a pitch meeting scheduled for Monday morning, and my co-founder Alex had been texting me contract revisions all week. But something in Dad's voice made me agree. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the part of me that still hoped for something different. The restaurant was one of those places where the hostess asks if you have a reservation with a smile that suggests she already knows you don't belong. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Lake Washington. White tablecloths so crisp they could cut. Mom had insisted on somewhere appropriate for the occasion. I should have known then. They were already seated when I arrived. Mom in her Chanel suit, pearl necklace catching the light. Dad in his standard navy blazer, the one he wore to the office every day for 30 years before retirement. Emma beside him, phone already out, that familiar smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. And Michael, Emma's fiancé, looking uncomfortable in a tie that was clearly too tight. "Sarah." Mom's voice was cool as she offered her cheek for a kiss. "You're late." I was 7 minutes early, but I didn't argue. I'd learned years ago that arguing with my mother was like arguing with a brick wall. The wall never moved, and you just ended up with a headache. "Traffic was lighter than I expected," I said, sliding into my seat. The envelope caught my eye again. "What's this?" "Let's order first," Dad said quickly. Too quickly. His eyes darted to Mom, then away. "The salmon here is supposed to be excellent." The waiter materialized with menus and that particular brand of forced cheer that expensive restaurants train into their staff. Emma kept her phone angled toward me, not even trying to hide what she was doing. Recording. Of course she was recording. I'd seen this movie before. Emma documented everything. Every family gathering, every achievement, every moment that could be curated for social media. Her Instagram was a carefully constructed shrine to the perfect life. Engagement photos in Paris, her new BMW. The McMansion she and Michael had just closed on in Medina, right down the street from our parents. My profile by comparison was sparse, a few professional photos from company events, the Forbes 30 Under 30 announcement from 3 months ago that I'd posted once and never mentioned again. I preferred to keep my work separate from family, especially this family. "So, Sarah," Emma said, her voice sticky sweet as the waiter departed with our orders. "How's the little app thing going?" The little app thing. Heartbeat had 3 million active users. We just closed our Series B funding round last Tuesday, $40 million. The news was embargoed until Monday morning, when Forbes and TechCrunch would run simultaneous features. My face would be on the cover of the business section. Alex and I had celebrated with terrible Chinese takeout in the office at midnight, both of us too exhausted and exhilarated to do anything else. But Emma didn't know that. None of them did. "It's going well," I said, reaching for my water. "That's nice." Mom's tone suggested it was anything but. "Your father and I have been discussing your future." Here it was, the real reason for dinner. Dad cleared his throat. "Sarah, we're concerned. You're 28 years old. This startup phase can't last forever. Emma's settled now. Good job at the firm, engaged to a lawyer, buying a house. We just want the same stability for you." "I have stability," I said carefully. "Living in that tiny apartment in Capitol Hill?" Mom's perfectly drawn eyebrows rose. "Working 100-hour weeks for a company that might not exist in 5 years? That's not stability, Sarah. That's Peter Pan syndrome." Michael shifted uncomfortably. Emma's smile widened. The phone stayed steady, capturing every moment. "Your mother and I have made a decision," Dad continued. He pushed the envelope toward me. "Open it." I knew, even before my fingers touched the paper, that this was going to be bad. The weight of it, the way Emma leaned forward, eager. The carefully blank expression on Mom's face that she wore when she was about to say something deliberately cruel and wanted to pretend it was kindness. Inside were 3 pages. Legal letterhead from Whitmore & Associates, the family lawyer. My name at the top, words that swam together for a moment before resolving into clarity. Termination of trust beneficiary status. Removal from family estate distribution. Cessation of financial support and future inheritance rights. "We're cutting you off," Mom said, and there was something almost satisfied in her voice. "The trust your grandfather established, the inheritance we've been managing, your position in the family business holdings, all of it, effective immediately." The restaurant buzzed around us. Laughter from a nearby table, the clink of silverware on china, the world continuing like nothing had changed when everything had just shifted sideways. "This is for your own good," Dad added, and he actually sounded like he believed it. "You need to understand that actions have consequences. You've made your choice to pursue this unconventional path. We've made ours." I looked at the papers again. Properly executed, notarized, signed last week. They'd planned this, chosen this public setting, this holiday, this moment. "Wow," I said softly. "You really did this." "Don't be dramatic." Mom sighed, like I was the one being unreasonable. "You're a grown woman. You keep saying you want independence. Well, now you have it, completely." Emma's phone was still recording. Still waiting for me to cry, to beg, to break down the way they expected, the way they wanted. This whole dinner was theater, and I was supposed to play my part. The failure daughter, the disappointment, the one who chose wrong. Something cold settled in my chest. Not anger, not hurt, something closer to clarity. "Can I keep these?" I asked, holding up the papers. Mom blinked. "What?" "The documents. Can I keep them?" Yes. That's your copy." She exchanged a glance with Dad. This wasn't going according to script. "Great." I folded the papers carefully and tucked them into my purse. "Thank you." "Thank you?" Emma's voice pitched higher. "Sarah, did you hear what they just said? They're disowning you." I heard. I stood, pushing back my chair. The waiter had just appeared with our appetizers. Actually, this is perfect timing. I was worried about how to handle the estate situation once the Forbes piece came out on Monday. "You've solved that problem for me." The table went quiet. "What Forbes piece?" Dad asked slowly. I smiled. It felt strange on my face, like I was using muscles I'd forgotten I had. "The one about Heartbeat's Series B funding round. $40 million. We closed last Tuesday. The press embargo lifts Monday morning. There's going to be quite a bit of media attention. I was concerned it might complicate things with the family, people asking questions about support and connections. But now, thanks to these, I patted my purse, it's very clear. We're not connected. At all. So thank you. Really, you've made this much simpler." Mom's face had gone pale. $40 million? Our valuation? Yes, my equity stake is. I paused, as if considering whether to share. "Well, that's confidential, but it's substantial, more than enough that I won't miss the trust fund, or the inheritance, or the family business holdings that, let's be honest, have been declining for the past 5 years anyway." "You're lying," Emma said, but her voice wavered. Her phone had dropped slightly, the camera angle now capturing the table instead of my face. "The Forbes journalist who interviewed me last month was very thorough. She'll be following up next week for the feature story. 30 under 30. I'm on the cover." I pulled out my wallet to leave cash for my untouched water. "Oh, and Emma, you should post that video. I'm sure your followers would love to see a family disowning someone at Thanksgiving. Very on brand for you." Michael had turned bright red. Dad's mouth was opening and closing like a fish. Mom just stared. But Sarah, Dad started. "No." The word came out harder than I intended. "You made your choice. I'm making mine. Enjoy your salmon." I walked out of that restaurant with my head high and my phone buzzing in my pocket. Text from Alex. "How's family dinner?" I'd answer later. After the adrenaline wore off, after I stopped shaking. The Seattle skyline glittered across the lake as I drove home. My apartment in Capitol Hill was tiny. Yes, 650 square feet. 1 bedroom, kitchen so small 2 people couldn't stand in it at once. But it was mine. Every piece of furniture, every dish, every late-night coating on my secondhand couch. I'd started Heartbeat 3 years ago with Alex in a coffee shop on Pike Street, a mental health app that matched users with therapists using AI. It sounded simple until you got into the complexity of insurance integration, licensing verification, privacy compliance. We'd bootstrapped for 8 months, living on ramen and optimism, then seed funding, then Series A, then 3 million users and wait lists in 12 states. And my family had called it the little app thing. My phone rang as I unlocked my apartment door. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Sarah Morrison? A woman's voice, professional but warm. Yes? This is Rachel Chen from Forbes. I'm sorry to call on Thanksgiving, but we've had a scheduling change. We want to move your interview segment up. We're running the 30 Under 30 feature on our website tomorrow instead of Monday, with the magazine feature following next week. Would you be available for a quick call tomorrow to finalize a few quotes? Tomorrow. Not Monday. Tomorrow. Of course, I heard myself say. Wonderful. And I wanted to give you a heads up, we're adding a profile piece about founder resilience. Your story about bootstrapping while working 3 jobs, sleeping in your car that first year, teaching yourself to code at the public library. It's exactly the kind of narrative our readers connect with. Very inspiring. After we hung up, I sat on my couch in the dark. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Sarah, we need to talk. Your mother is very upset. This isn't the reaction we expected. Call me back. I deleted the message without listening to the rest. Another text. Emma, you're being childish. It was supposed to be tough love. Tough love. As if publicly humiliating someone at dinner was love in any form. My Uncle James called at midnight. Dad's younger brother, the one who'd always been different from the rest of the family. He'd moved to California 20 years ago, started a venture capital firm, married a man named David. The family didn't talk about James much at gatherings. I heard about dinner, he said without preamble. Your father called. He's panicking. Good. James laughed. I should tell you something. I've been one of your investors since Series A. I sat up straighter. What? David and I. Through our fund, we don't usually invest in mental health tech, but Alex sent me your deck when you were fundraising. I read it. I was impressed. You didn't know because we invested through a syndicate, but I've been watching. I'm proud of you, Sarah. My throat tightened. Thank you. Your parents are idiots. But you knew that. Don't call them back. Not yet. Let them sit with it. I didn't call back that night, or the next day, or the day after. The Forbes article went live Friday morning at 10 a.m. My phone exploded. Old college friends, investors, competitors, that guy from my freshman biology class who I'd tutored through midterms. Everyone suddenly wanted to reconnect, congratulate, network. Emma called 19 times. I let every call go to voicemail. Mom sent an email. Subject line, we should talk. I archived it without reading. Dad showed up at my apartment building on Saturday afternoon. The doorman called up. There's a Mr. Morrison here to see you. Tell him I'm not available. He says it's urgent. Family matter. Tell him I don't have family. The doorman's voice got quieter. He's crying, Miss Morrison. I felt nothing. Just that same cold clarity from the restaurant. Then tell him I'm still not available. Alex and I spent that weekend in the office, preparing for Monday's full press rollout. Our PR team had coordinated interviews with 6 major outlets. The Forbes piece had already been shared 40,000 times. My LinkedIn connection requests had maxed out the daily limit. Your family's going to see all this, Alex said, scrolling through mentions on his laptop. I know. They're going to try to take credit, or apologize, or somehow make it about them. Probably. You okay? I looked at our office. We'd upgraded from the coffee shop to a WeWork to a real office space in Soto, exposed brick, industrial lighting, whiteboards covered in user flow diagrams. The team had grown from just Alex and me to 30 employees. Engineering, customer service, marketing, legal. People whose livelihoods depended on the company we'd built. Yeah, I said, I'm okay. Monday morning, Michael called. Emma's fiancé, who'd sat silent through the entire Thanksgiving disaster. Sarah, please. Emma's a mess. Your parents are getting calls from their friends. Everyone saw the Forbes piece. They're embarrassed. Good. That's not fair. They were trying to help you. By cutting me off in public? By recording my reaction? That was help? Silence on the line. Michael, I don't blame you. You seem like a decent guy. But tell Emma this. If that video shows up online, my lawyers will be very interested. It was recorded in a private setting without my consent. Washington is a two-party consent state, and I have excellent lawyers now. He hung up. The video never appeared. The Tuesday after Thanksgiving, I got a handwritten letter from Mom. Not an email, actual stationery with her monogrammed initials. Very formal, very her. Dear Sarah, we made a mistake. Your father and I were trying to motivate you, to help you see, sense. We didn't understand the full scope of your accomplishments. We're very proud. Please call so we can discuss reinstating your position in the family trust. I burned it in my kitchen sink. Uncle James and David invited me to Christmas dinner at their place in Palo Alto. Real family only, James said. No assholes allowed. I went. It was the best Christmas I'd had in years. Emma sent a Facebook friend request on New Year's Eve. I declined it. Dad left a voicemail in January. Sarah, it's been 2 months. Your mother's doctor says her blood pressure is through the roof from stress. You're killing her. Just call back. 5 minutes. That's all we ask. I didn't call back. I saw them once, in March, at the opening of a new tech hub in downtown Seattle. I was on the speakers panel. Founders who disrupted healthcare. Dad and Mom were in the audience. I spotted them 3 rows back. Mom's face was drawn. Dad looked like he'd aged 5 years in 4 months. They tried to approach me afterward, during the networking reception. I saw them coming and turned to the TechCrunch reporter who'd been chatting with me about our Series C plans. Actually, I said, loud enough for them to hear, the most important lesson I've learned is knowing when to cut ties with people who don't support your vision, even when those people are family, especially when they're family. The reporter's eyes lit up. Can I quote you on that? Absolutely. My parents stopped walking, turned around, left through the side exit. I felt nothing. Heartbeat was acquired by a major healthcare company in June. The number wasn't public, but let's just say it had 8 figures and started with a 2. Forbes ran another piece, From Disowned to Acquired, One Founder's Journey. I didn't call my parents to tell them. Emma sent a wedding invitation to my office address. Formal calligraphy on cream-colored paper. Mr. and Mrs. Morrison request the pleasure of your company. I RSVP'd no. Uncle James called the day after the wedding. You missed quite a show. Your mother spent the entire reception telling people about her successful daughter. Emma nearly flipped a table. Good. You know they're never going to stop trying, right? I know. Does it bother you? I thought about the envelope. The restaurant. Emma's smirk. The way they'd planned to humiliate me, to break me, to force me back into their version of who I should be. No, I said. It doesn't bother me at all. I still have the documents. Termination of trust beneficiary status. Removal from family estate distribution. They're framed in my new apartment. Corner office in a building with a view of Elliott Bay. Every morning when I make coffee, I walk past them. Best gift my parents ever gave me. The freedom to prove them wrong.